Om Namo Narayana, welcome back, good morning. It's 4 a.m. here. I have to be someplace at 6, which might be good for you because there'll be no whooshing sounds outside of the traffic. I know I could use a microphone and all that, but I wanted to keep these videos super simple, having done 3 YouTube channels that actually took a lot of my time. I know it might be too simple, but we've come this far. We're on chapter 21 already, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, out of 33 chapters, so in the final third. Here we go, a conversation between Manu and Kardama. Vidura said, "The line of Svayambhuva Manu was most esteemed. O worshipful sage, I beg you, give me an account of this race whose progeny multiplied through sexual intercourse. The 2 great sons of Manu, Priyavrata and Uttanapada, ruled the world, consisting of 7 islands, just according to religious principles. Holy Brahmana, you have spoken of his daughter, known by the name Devahuti, as the wife of the sage Kardama, the lord of created beings. How many offspring did that great yogi beget through the princess who was endowed with the 8-fold perfection in yoga? Please, pray tell me this. I am eager to hear it. Holy sage, tell me how the worshipful Rutsi and Daksha, the son of Brahma, generated children after securing as their wives the other 2 daughters of Manu." Maitreya replied, "Commanded by Lord Brahma to beget children in the world, the worshipful Muni practiced penance on the bank of the river Sarasvati for a period of 10,000 years. During that period of penance, the sage Kardama, by worship through devotional service in trance, propitiated Lord Vishnu, who is the quick bestower of all blessings upon those who flee to him for protection. And then, in the Satya Yuga, the lotus-eyed Supreme Personality of Godhead, being pleased, showed himself to Kardama Muni and displayed his transcendental form, which can be understood only through the Vedas. Kardama Muni saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead before him, who was free from material contamination, there in his eternal form, effulgent like the sun, wearing a garland of white lotuses and water lilies. The Lord was clad in spotless yellow silk, and his lotus face was fringed with slick dark locks of curly hair. Adorned with a crown and earrings, he held his characteristic conch, disc, and mace in 3 of his hands, and a white lily in the 4th. He glanced about in a happy, smiling mood, whose sight captivates the hearts of all devotees. A golden streak on his chest, the famous Kaustubha gem suspended from his neck, he stood in the air with his lotus feet placed on the shoulders of Garuda." While Kardama Muni actually realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person, he was greatly satisfied because his transcendental desire was fulfilled. He fell on the ground with his head bowed to offer obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord. His heart naturally full of love, with folded hands, he satisfied the Lord with prayers. Kardama said, "O worshipful Lord, my power of sight is now fulfilled, having attained the greatest perfection of the sight of you, who are the reservoir of all existences. Through many successive bursts of deep meditation, advanced yogis aspire to see you in transcendental form. Your lotus feet are the true vessel to take one across the ocean of mundane essence. Only persons deprived of their intelligence by the spell of the deluding energy will worship those feet with a view to attain the trivial and momentary pleasures of the senses, which even persons rotting in hell can attain. However, my lord, you are so kind that you bestow mercy even upon me. Therefore, desiring to marry a girl of like disposition who may prove to be a veritable cow of plenty in my married life, to satisfy my lustful desire, I too have sought the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the source of everything, for you are like a desire tree. My lord, you are the master and leader of all living entities. Under your direction, all conditioned souls, as if bound by rope, are constantly engaged in satisfying their desires. Following them, O embodiment of religion, I also bear oblations for you who are eternal time. However, persons who have given up stereotyped worldly affairs and beastly followers of these affairs, and who have taken shelter of the umbrella of your lotus feet by drinking the intoxicating nectar of your qualities and activities in discussions with one another, can be freed from the primary necessities of the material body. Your wheel, which has 3 naves, rotates around the axis of the imperishable Brahma. It has 13 spokes, 360 joints, 6 rims, and numberless leaves carved upon it. Though its revolution cuts short the lifespan of the entire creation, this wheel of tremendous velocity cannot touch the lifespan of the devotees of the Lord. My dear Lord, you alone create the universes. Personality of Godhead, desiring to create these universes, you create them, maintain them, and again wind them up by your own energies, which are under the control of your second energy called Yogamaya, just as a spider creates a cobweb by its own energy again and winds it up. My dear Lord, although it is not your desire, you manifest this creation of gross and subtle elements just for our sensual satisfaction. Let your causeless mercy be upon us. You have appeared before us in your eternal form, adorned with a splendid wreath of Tulasi leaves. I continuously offer my respectful obeisances unto your lotus feet, of which it is worthy to take shelter, because you shower all benedictions on the insignificant, to give all living entities detachment from fruitive activity by realizing you have expanded these material worlds by your own energy. Maitreya resumed his narration. Sincerely extolled in these words, Lord Vishnu, shining very beautifully on the shoulders of Garuda, replied with words as sweet as nectar. His eyebrows moved gracefully as he looked at the sage with a smile full of affection. The Supreme Lord said, "Having come to know what was in your mind, I have already arranged for that which you have worshipped me well through your mental and sensory discipline. My dear Rishi, leader of the living entities, for those who serve me in devotion by worshipping me, especially persons like you who have given up everything unto me, there is never any question of frustration. The Emperor Svayambhuva Manu, the son of Lord Brahma, who is well known for his righteousness, has his seat in Brahmavarta and rules over the earth with its 7 oceans. The day after tomorrow, O Brahmana, that celebrated emperor, who is expert in religious activities, will come here with his queen, Satarupa, wishing to see you. He has a grown-up daughter whose eyes are black. She is ready for marriage, and she has a good character and all good qualities. She is also searching for a good husband. My dear sir, her parents will come to see you, who are exactly suitable to her, just to deliver their daughter as your wife. That princess will be just the type you have been thinking of in your heart for all these long years. She will soon be yours, and will serve to your heart's content. She will bring forth 9 daughters from the seed sown in her by you, and although the daughters you begot, the sages will duly begot children. With your heart cleansed by properly carrying out my command, resigning to me the fruits of all your acts, you will finally attain to me. Showing compassion to all living entities, you will attain self-realization. Giving assurance of safety to all, you will perceive your own self as well as the universe is in me, and myself in you. Great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife, Devahuti, along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles, or categories. Maitreya continued. Thus having spoken to Kardama Muni, the Lord, who reveals himself only when the senses are in Krishna consciousness, departed from that lake called Bindusaravara, which was encircled by the river Sarasvati. While the sage stood looking on, the Lord left by the pathway leading to Vaikuntha, a path extolled by all great liberated souls. The sage stood listening as the hymns forming the basis of the Samaveda were vibrated by the flapping wings of the Lord's carrier, Garuda. Then, after the departure of the Lord, the worshipful sage Kardama stayed on the bank of the Bindusarasvara, awaiting the time in which the Lord had spoken. Svayambhuva Muni, with his wife, mounted his chariot, which was decorated with golden ornaments. Placing his daughter on it with them, he began traveling all over the earth. They reached the hermitage of the sage, who had just completed his vow of austerity on the very day foretold by the Lord. The holy lake, Bindu Sarovara, flooded by the waters of the river Sarasvati, was resorted to by the hosts of eminent sages. Its holy water was not only auspicious, but as sweet as nectar. He was called Bindu Sarovara because drops of tears had fallen there from the eyes of the Lord, who was overwhelmed by extreme compassion for the sage who had sought his protection. The shore of the lake was surrounded by clusters of pious trees and creepers, rich in fruits and flowers of all seasons, that afforded shelter to pious animals and birds, which uttered various cries. It was adorned by the beauty of groves of forest trees. The area resounded with notes of overjoyed birds. Intoxicated bees wandered there, intoxicated peacocks proudly danced, and merry cuckoos called one another. Lake Bindu Saravana was adorned by flowering trees such as Kadama, Kampaka, Asoka, Karanja, Bakula, Asana, Kunda, Mandara, Kutaja, and young mango trees. The air was filled with the pleasing notes of Karandava ducks, plava swans, ospreys, waterfowl, cranes, kakrafaks, and kakoras. Its shores abounded with deer, boars, porcupines, gavayas, elephants, baboons, lions, monkeys, mongooses, and musket deer. Entering the most sacred spot with his daughter, and going near the sage, the first monarch, Svayambhuvamunu, saw the sage sitting in his hermitage, having just propitiated the sacred fire by pouring oblations into it. His body shone most brilliantly. Though he had engaged in austere penance for a long time, he was not emaciated, for the Lord had cast his affectionate sidelong glance upon him, and he had also heard the nectar flowing from the moon-like words of the Lord. The sage was tall, his eyes were large, like petals of a lotus, and he had matted locks on his head. He was clad in rags. Svayambhuva Manu approached him and saw him to be somewhat soiled, like an unpolished gem. Seeing that the monarch had come to his hermitage and was bowing before him, the sage greeted him with benediction and received him with due honor. After receiving the sage's attention, the king sat down and was silent. Recalling the instruction of the Lord, Kardama then spoke to the king as follows, delighting him with sweet accents. The tour you have undertaken, O Lord, is surely intended to protect the virtuous and kill the demons, since you embody the protecting energy of Sri Hari. When necessary, you assume the part of the sun god, the moon god Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the lord of paradise, Vayu, the wind god, Yama, the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of piety, and Varuna, the god presiding over the waters. All obeisances to you, who are none other than Lord Vishnu. If you did not mount your victorious jeweled chariot, whose mere presence threatens culprits, if you did not produce fierce sounds by the twanging of your bow, and if you did not roam about the world like the brilliant sun, leading a huge army whose trampling feet cause the globe of the earth to tremble, then all the moral laws governing the varnas and ashramas created by the Lord himself would be broken by the rogues and rascals. If you gave up all thoughts of the world's situation, unrighteousness would flourish, for men who hanker only after money would be unopposed. Such miscreants would attack, and the world would perish. In spite of this, I ask you, O valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here, whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation. Thus ends chapter 21. That's a long chapter full of descriptions we've kind of... The book is often repetitious to me. I've said this before. I often feel like we're getting the same story and the same thing, and this narration that on one level it's hard to believe that this is a true story, because the guy meditated for 10,000 years. Does that line up with other histories in here of people living for 10,000 years? I don't know. And there's all these details where the Lord was doing this, he was doing this, but then there's other things which aren't really detailed, like little things. I don't know, it's all very... I don't know. Sometimes it's just... I think if anything we can get from this chapter a description of the Lord, and we can get the fact that if you haven't picked it up by now, whenever anyone sees the Lord, have you noticed what they do? They don't just go, oh my God, it's God. They actually go, obeisance is unto you. You are this, you are this, you are this. They just praise the Lord all day long. And then they ask what they would like. Then they ask their questions or ask for whatever they need. But there's all this praise, this praise, this praise, this praise. We get this in Christianity too. People say, what's it? Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. We always praise first before we ask what we want. See, that's something people. It's something that I've actually people don't realize. I've seen people don't really get. They have to learn that the Lord asks us and tells us how to approach Him by praise. Then come and display your wares. But first praise and honor this person who's before you, who's beyond a person. Anyways, questions, comments, all that good stuff. Excuse me, I gotta go get a cup of coffee now because it's on 4:15, 4:20, and thank you as always for hanging with me today. And yeah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.